We're going to talk a little bit about assumable loans. We're going to talk a little bit about what you need to be doing to build your listing inventory, get you to a position you are generating a lot more listings for yourself. If you are a licensed real estate agent, you know this market has changed drastically. And we're going to talk a lot about why that is, what you should be doing, how you can generate the kind of money that you need to be making here by building your listing inventory. Today, we're going to talk about how are we selling properties with 2%, 3% mortgages, 4% mortgages. We're doing it all over the country. A lot of my coaching members with Inner Circle Coaching, they're taking on more listings than they've ever had, and they're working with a lot more buyers than they've ever had. Of course, if you're offering something like this, you're going to pick up a lot of buyers. So that's going to be our topic. Welcome to today's morning meeting. I'm Greg Luther, the one guy that meets with you every single week to help you in growing your real estate business. And this one will get you growing very quickly. This is going to get you to a position you've got a lot more listings and a heck of a lot more buyers that you're working with. What you may not realize up front is every single FHA and VA loan in the world, in the United States, where they are, every one of them is assumable by law. Every single FHA and every single VA loan is assumable by law. And with rates the way they are now, let's call it 7%, give or take. It's probably going to go up a little more. It may go down a little more, whatever. But it just seems unaffordable to so many people that were used to the last few years where they were ridiculously low. So now they can't afford as much home as they used to be able to afford. Now that we're offering these assumable loans, it's making it much more affordable for them. They can get a lot more home for their money. I mean, think about it. If they're pre-approved right now at 6.5, 7, whatever the interest rate is at that time that they're getting approved, if they're approved at $500,000, they'll qualify for $800,000 or $900,000 on an assumable loan. If they only qualify to $300,000 and they're like, man, I'm priced out of the market right now and there's just nothing in my price range. Well, if they do an assumable loan, they're going to qualify. Same monthly payment, they're going to qualify for double that or near double that. So I wanted to walk through, I've got a whole bunch of notes I wanted to go through today because we are selling tons of properties this way. Of course, it generates a lot of questions for you, right? How in the world do we do this? That type of thing. I can say, I did a video about this yesterday that Realtor.com finally is doing something right because frankly, I don't like them very well. But Realtor.com is finally doing something very right in that they're advertising assumable mortgages. That's one of the things that they're advertising. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I have it. If I have it up here, I had a picture of it, of some of the ads they're running. You can now go to Realtor.com and you can search for homes that have an assumable mortgage under 4%. Now think of how many buyers are interested in that. Of course, what they're doing is they're picking up all the buyers so they can sell them to us and take all of our money, right? That's their ultimate goal here. But the offer works. I mean, there's not a buyer in the country that wouldn't say, yeah, I definitely want to get a 2% mortgage. Of course they're interested in that. So it's really a great offer. And if you're utilizing this, if you actually go out and you find those sellers that are willing to sell, because by the way, they can sell their home for more than market value if they're including the mortgage. Let me give you that again. Whatever your house is worth right now, I know you don't want to move. I know rates are too high. I know you got a 3% mortgage and you want to stay here forever. If I can get you a bonus, if I got you an extra 10 grand or an extra 20 grand, would you make a move? Because you're already selling at a ridiculously high price. You already have lots of equity. What if I could get you every penny it's worth plus an extra $10,000 by including the mortgage? Now you're able to get people's attention. I know that because it's what we're doing. We're doing it all over the country. So I wanted to kind of walk through this and talk a little bit about why that is. I want to stay focused on the listing side because for an awful lot of agents out there, you're looking for listings. You've got to build a better listing inventory. So if you get your offer right to get the sellers, and then that house that you have is not only priced right, but it includes a prearranged financing, of course, you're going to do very well with that lower rate. I've got one of my buddies, and I told this story to a lot of my coaching members. One of my buddies was able to get a duplex, and he acquired this home at 2.625. 2.625 mortgage rate. I'm like, dude, how did you do that? He's like, well, I just assumed the loan. I'm like, what do you mean you assumed the loan? So like you're just taking over the payments? He's like, no, You had to qualify. It was actually comes over to me. They have no liability, anything like that. And I've got, I think he said 26 years left on the mortgage. I've just got a 26-year mortgage at 2.625. What? How are you doing that? Now, this has been, I don't know, close to a year ago. So we started researching, started finding out why that is. And, I started having a bunch of my top producers like, hey, this is working well. If you talk to some of the old school realtors, some of the agents that have been doing this for a long, long time, they'll tell you that way back when interest rates were 12%, 14%, 16%, they'll tell you the only way they could sell a home was an assumable loan. That's the only way. They were doing lots of loan assumptions back then because that was a more affordable approach. Well, listen, we've realized now the feds are not reducing rates. They were supposed to have already done it 3 times by now. They've done it 0 times. As a matter of fact, inflation's not even under control yet, let alone need to go, inflation going too low that they would need to lower our rates again. It's simply not happening. So I think a lot of these buyers are starting to realize now that this is the rate. Like if you're going to buy a home, you can only sandbag for so long. You've been waiting a year for them to reduce. You've been waiting a year and a half for them to reduce rates. You can't keep doing this. So they're realizing this is the new norm. Well, when we're offering these low mortgage rates, when we're offering, you guys remember the whole wraparound mortgage and blended rates and all of those terms we had to use back in the day. Well, listen, that is the new market we're in because people were so accustomed to 2%, 3%, 4% rates were nearly double, actually more than double some of those rates. So when you're offering this the right way, when you're going after the right sellers, and I'm going to show you that today, I'm going to give you some examples of this. When you're going after the right sellers, you're going to do very well. Well, so many agents are like, well, how do I find sellers? How do you get anybody to move right now? Nobody's wanting to move right now. No buyers can afford to buy. No sellers can afford to sell. This is what we're doing. You can go get a list of people that have assumable loans that bought between 2019 and 2022 because we know what their rate was. Nobody got an FHA loan in 2020 with a 9% rate. It didn't exist. We know what their rate was back then. So if I can get that list of people, they do have some equity right now. You got a lot of questions on how do we work the spread? What about the gap? All of that stuff. This is what we do. You're getting trained up on the right way to do this, but it's such a great way to start generating a lot more money for yourself. Let me see if I can share my screen. And many of you know I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing to begin with. Let me see if I can get this to share for us. This right here is one of the list brokers that we use, Dataman Group, or maybe it's called Dataman, I don't know, but Dataman Group. If you go to datamangroup.com, you can see they have a list of FHA mortgages, and you can actually sort that. You can go in and sort that by when they bought the home, how much equity they have. I know if they bought FHA, they only put 3% down. They don't have a whole lot of equity. Now, those homes have appreciated since then. So there is a bit of a gap, and you need to have that gap because that's the only way you're going to get paid. A seller's not going to do this if they're bringing money to the table. So you need to have that gap in order to be enough equity there for them to pay you. So, this is something that can really do very well for you if you're going about it the right way. Now, let me see, play around a little bit here to show you if this will. Yeah, so check this out. They've got all kinds of lists that you could use with your real estate business. If you're working baby boomers, if you're working those that want to downsize, if you're trying to work millennials or people that are getting ready to make a move, there's all kinds of different lists that you can utilize. But I really want you to think about how are you marketing to these people. And there's a lot of mailing list brokers that are out there. So that gives you kind of an example there. Now, we can really narrow down when they bought, the type of home they have, the equity position they have, what their monthly household income is.